I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
Oh, Great American Pillow Fight coming at you.
Take me out. Somebody just turned the go switch on these suckers and people are moving a lot faster. Something's going on and I ain't ready.
We would like to take this time to thank one of our corporate sponsors, Louisiana Downs Casino and Racetrack. Since 1974, Louisiana Downs has been the premier racetrack in all of America and continues to showcase the best horse racing has to offer. From quarter horse racing in January to thoroughbred racing in May, Louisiana Downs is where excitement is always at the finish line. On behalf of Jumpin Offsides, we'd like to thank our presenting sponsors, Rubber Boot Crawfish Company. With 2 locations to serve you on Uri Drive and Mansfield Road, don't forget to ask about the 5-pound box special. Tell them Jumpin Offsides sent you.
Now, from Suite 11 at Louisiana Downs Casino and Racetrack in some basement in rural Central Florida, it's the Jumpin Offsides Podcast Network. Here's your host, Chance, JD, and Mike.
Well, Chance, you usually do the intro, so I was kind of waiting on you to do that, Hotshot.
All right. Well, episode 37 tonight, we are coming to you from Louisiana Downs, the place to race, where excitement is always at the finish line. And we'd like to remind you to gamble responsibly. If you have a problem, call 1-877-770-7867 for all our friends and fans out there. This is episode 37.
Wonderful guest tonight, former Florida Gator. He played in the 1990s for legendary coach Steve Spurrier. We've had a couple of former Spurrier players on. We got one here, our resident every week, MP missing piece Mike Pearson. But Chance, you're a big fan, so I'm going to let you do this one.
Well, I've been a long-time fan of this gentleman, number 44 there. And I want Mike to really dress this thing up, but I just want to say how awesome it is to have this guy. I got to watch him as a mid-teenager and really, really, really love the way this guy played ball. So, Mike, take it away and let's do this intro right.
Yeah. Well, guys, I mean, you know, this is one of those deals where he's number 44 in your program, but I'm pretty sure if there's a number 1 in your heart, James Bates is right there. He's an all-time Gator legend, just one of the true heartbeats of a team, that national championship team in '96, the first for the Gators. He was the captain on the team, all SEC linebacker, just a guy that you'd want to go to battle and go to war with. And he's a little bit ahead of me as far as age, so I can say as a kid and a teenager and a high school guy, man, I loved going up to Gainesville, watching those teams, and especially watching him because he just had that old school mentality, wore the 44, kind of just romping all over the fields, and just remembering him just laying the wood on people. And James is one of those guys that has done so many unique and really awesome things in his post career, from not only doing broadcasting and and play-by-play, and then he also has now become a true artist. I mean, he's doing a fantastic job in that regard. So with all our heart and love, this is our guy, and somebody that every Gator fan from near and far knows. Number 44, James Bates.
Beautifully done.
Hey, huh? That he dressed it up. You're gonna make me cry. Dang, Mike, that's so nice of you. And you know what? It's funny because I just wrote here when we came on just a few minutes ago. I wrote in my diary, I said, "Dear diary, thought for some reason that it was a Mike Peterson podcast. And when I saw that it was Mike Pearson, I was so pissed off that I almost canceled out, but I wanted to give him a chance. And I wanted to see if he would dress up an introduction and do it the right way. And if he did, then I would no longer be mad that it wasn't the Mike Peterson show, but Mike Pearson's show. And you know what? Sure enough, you knocked it out, man. So, hey, I'm here to stay. Whatever you guys want to talk about, we're going to have a great time now. I was so pissed. So pissed. I'm like, oh, Mike Pete, this is going to be great. Fellow linebacker. And then you guys put this bullshit on there. I'm like, oh, my gosh, no way. No way. But no, you know what? Hey, you guys know this, and everybody watching knows this. The reason why that introduction meant so much is because, man, you Mike, I don't know you as well as I would like to. We've been around each other enough, but like every time I'm around you, you just make people happy. You're such a positive guy, and you've always been that way. You're like the Poly guys. I'm sure you played with quite a few, but always smiling and always like making people better. So I appreciate your heart, and you make it great to be a Gator,
guys,
man. I appreciate that.
I told
intro,
these guys
and I'm glad to be on with you guys.
So James is one of these people that, he's got this magnetic personality. You've always been so gracious and good to me. I mean, even just from the small times we got to hang out, and like at Nick Shirelli's wedding, you and your bride were just real cool to Melissa and I, and just James is just one of those guys that, fellas, I tell you what, like if there is a ambassador for UF and not just UF football, I want to say that too, because James he truly does a lot for the UF community on all facets, and anytime you run into him, it's like just kind of uplifts you. So James, I appreciate those kind words, but as we get going, kind of give our viewers, and I think there's like 22 of them, so you'll have to bear with us because there's a lot, but just give them a quick flyover, kind of what you're doing, all the many things you got going on, because there's a lot of moving parts with the James Bates show, if you will, and just kind of give them an update kind of all the things that you would like them to hear.
Whoa!
You had us on there one time. It was me, Tilo,
college, Pearson.
Fake A-Walk. That's great.
Oh gosh. Well, okay. I'll start with something, because you talk about just being a Gator and what it means to all of us, right. and I teach a class now. I teach a broadcasting class. It's a play-by-play on-air talent class, and I think this is going on about my 9th year. So up towards 16, 17, wow. 18 semesters of teaching this class now, and that's crazy. But I'm as proud to be a professor in that class, to be that little part of the University of Florida that hopefully that these kids will never forget. Like you remember, what do you remember about your classes? You remember your good ones. You remember the teachers that, taught you things that, and smiled and made you feel better. And we just have a great time in there. We get in trouble sometimes by the neighboring teachers because we're having a little bit too much of a good time, but we're getting better. And I'm just so proud to be a part of that. And I love being around those kids. And I've actually got a teammate of mine who was a couple years older than me, Sam McCorkle, who's now the head coach at Dartmouth, who's a great dude and was such a good friend when we were in school. His niece is in my class. And, so I've been texting Sammy, so that's cool. So let's see, I host a show called Portraits that airs on ESPN, and we incorporate a lot of my artwork. And gosh, we've hung out. We went down to the Keys and hung out with Mike Leach. And the most recent one that we did was with Kirby Smart, and got to see Muschamp. Champ was up there. Got to hang out with him. I love Muschamp, and Kirby was really good to me. I kind of wish he would have been a little bit more of a jerk so I could hate on him, but You know, I can't really hate on him. He actually came on. He came on. This is a long-winded. You asked. So I'm telling you, he came on a recruiting trip the same weekend that I hosted Peyton Manning. He was there, and he was talking about how mad he was because Spurrier didn't offer him. And you know, and going back and looking at some of his tapes from Georgia in this show, he was a baller, man. He could really run, but he's from Bainbridge, which is close to Tallahassee. And FSU didn't offer him, Florida didn't offer him, and he was so upset. And so I asked him, I said, you know, growing up in Georgia, is it a dream come true? And he said that he really just wanted to play anywhere that would have him. He wasn't necessarily always a Bulldog fan. He was a big fan. He wanted to just play for his dad and play for his dad's team. And his dad, unfortunately, just passed away right after the Sugar Bowl and got hurt right before it. So, but he was on there, and the portrait I did for that show was of him and his dad in high school. So that was kind of cool that he has that now. So hosting shows like that. I just was down in Brandon doing the
people.
World Flag Football Championship down in your neck of the woods, down near Sefner Armwood High School. It was, I mean, it's big. So that'll be on CBS. I've got to go up to Indy to voice that in a couple weeks, and then I'm painting, and I feel so fortunate to be able to just create. And you were freaking out earlier, like, hey, you gonna be with us? You gonna be with us? I hadn't answered. I was painting all day, but so that's not a quick rundown, but that's a broad stroke of what I got going on right now. Oh, and one more thing. I'm sorry. And our daughter, we've got 3 kids. Our son is a fishing captain here in Nassau County, and he's actually going to EMT school and fire school here to kind of supplement his income. But he does a great job of putting people on fish up here. We've got our youngest daughter is a senior at UF. And I think she's gonna got a job offer for Gator Booster. She's gonna work there, so I'm excited for her. And then our middle child, Talia, she just got engaged. She was both our girls were swimmers, like my wife Tina. Yeah. And so, I got all that. I can't forget about all that.
You talk about Gator blood. He has got Gator blood all over the place. And James, just because you kind of brought up the recruiting trip, you got to tell these guys the whole story behind your number 44. And Daryl Bush, and you just give them, because that's what people love hearing, and they love hearing these side stories that they never really get to hear from the horse's mouth. So please tell everybody the whole 44 and Spurrier, and just, it's one of the funnier. Like, I'll be honest, I bogart and tell this story, like, and I let everybody know it's not my story, but it's so funny. I tell people the story.
No, it's your story, man. You know what? You just got to make it yours. That's what I tell my students all the time, right? Just make it yours. You got to own it. Don't just memorize it, but you got to own it. And oh man, before I tell this story, I want to know the 3 koozies back there. Those are head ball coach koozies behind you guys. What are the quotes? What are the quotes on those?
Don't use that F word.
F word.
You guys are using the F word too much. Don't use that F word. The occasional Helldammer shit's all right. Just don't use that F word.
Saving up their whole lives so they can move to Florida. You've got a chance to come now, and you're just 18.
You can drink a few beers and be a Gator, but you can't smoke pot.
Sign me up. But you can't smoke. We'll win without you. We'll win without you. Jeez.
So here in the suite,
all right.
I bet you I've had 100 of them here. And those are the things that go missing here. Everybody, and I see them around town. Everybody now has a Batesy koozie that they ran off with. I'm like, hey, that goes back to Suite 11 there at Louisiana Downs, just so you know. So it's not a commodity. Keep them coming.
Oh man. Oh gosh. Yeah, you got to take care of. I think I'm about out of them. I probably should do a new run. This the 44 story that Mike's talking about.
Yeah, I've heard it before.
Probably too long for a koozie. Have you guys, either of you, heard it? Okay. So So 44, I had to wear 44. I mean, it's embarrassing to even admit how much it meant to me. Like when I would get the recruiting, we used to get the recruiting guides, the media guides. I don't know what they send now, like chocolates or whatever, and then you can plug something in your phone. But so we would get the media guide, and when we were being recruited, when I was a junior and everything, and I would flip through, like, okay, is 44? Okay, 44 is a junior or a senior, so I'm going to have a chance. I've got to, because of Brian Bosworth. I mean, I was right there. I went to junior high down in Arlington, Texas, right about the time he was up in Norman doing his thing. My dad wanted me to be a quarterback, but all I wanted to do was be like Boz. I must have watched Stone Cold like 80 times. And there was this thing on X today about the Mobile, Alabama, the big gymnasium, Civic Center that they have. The roof caved in because of the snow. And it was in that right there. If you see it, you'll see it if you're out on social media. That's right next to the tunnel that they shot the long motorcycle chase with Brian Bosworth right there. So that's pour some out for the Civic Center. But I had to wear 44. I had to. And so Fee Bartley was a senior when I was a senior in high school. Fee Bartley went to Fletcher High School in Jacksonville. And I actually played with Jason Bartley, his younger brother. But Fee Bartley wore that 44, and he used to crop it right up under his nipples. You guys remember that? He'd have it just covering his nipples. Just every now and then you'd see the areola, but it was a crop. He cropped it. That 44, I don't know how the 44 got on there, so I had to have him lengthen it out because I still had all that baby fat. I still do. I couldn't pull that off. I should have actually just cut holes in the 4 so you could see my nipples instead of my abs. But I had to wear 44, and I got it, and I was so excited. I mean, that meant so much to me. So after my redshirt freshman year, I was to host a guy named Daryl Bush from Lake Brantley High School. And Daryl was an All-American linebacker. He was a great linebacker in high school. And of course we wanted him. And at that point, I think maybe I had already failed with Peyton Manning. I don't know whatever happened to that dude. But I had Daryl, so I'm trying to get Daryl. And we'd do our weekend thing. And on Saturday morning, they would have all the guys' jerseys in our locker room and their high school number and their last name on the back of the jersey. And so there we go to my locker, and there's my 44 with Bush on the back. No big deal. That's what you do. So we're standing there looking at it, and I believe it was like his mom and dad and maybe a sibling. And we're just standing there talking, and here comes the head ball coach. All right, Daryl, looks good. And Daryl's mom says Daryl has worn 44 his whole life, and he plans on wearing it in college. And I was like, because I had contributed a little bit, but like not enough to where it's like, no, that's my number. No one's taking my number. And so I was like, oh, where's this going to go? I was a little bit nervous. And Spurrier, he looks at me, he goes, Batesy, you wear 44, don't you? And I said, yes, sir. He said, you feel like giving it up? I said, no, sir. And he goes, well, guess he won't be wearing 44 if he's a Gator.
What did his mom say?
Coach gonna stand up for his guys. That's the great thing with Coach Spurrier.
Oh gosh,
he'll rip you and he'll give you hell, but he's definitely gonna take care of you too when the little things kind of pop up. So James, give us kind of like a
absolutely.
So many. I mean, you were part of this true dynasty kind of section or time frame for UF football. So what were some of the best memories? Obviously the national championship, winning that SEC 4 years in a row, but what are some of the things that maybe the everyday fan might gloss over that you would think that would matter or could resonate with you and still does?
Yeah, gosh, it's just your buddies. I mean, you're hanging with your boys and laughing, all the bus rides, and that's to me what just jumps out. It's just so special. And I hope that the guys now that they get that. I hope that they feel that with everybody jumping all over the place, and with, just everybody also in their phones, like you don't stay for an extra 30 minutes to an hour after practice, after all these meetings, and play wiffle ball. And, it just seems like everything just like, everything's done, you scatter. And even on the bus, we used to rock the mic on the buses on the way to games. Like we would, gosh, coach didn't ride on the defensive bus. So we just like would goof around, and we'd get on the, the microphone on the bus driver's microphone. And everybody like, Batesy, you gonna rock the mic? You gonna rock the mic? And so it was like, it's a lot of pressure to put on a guy before a game. Is he gonna is he gonna be funny enough? Is he gonna make up a good song for the week? But we used to have so much fun, and I feel so fortunate to have had the opportunity to play at the University of Florida. And the more I look at the way everything is now, my goodness, like how fortunate. Yeah, okay, all I want to do is play big-time football that matters. Well, did that in a big way, and we won, like you said, 4 SEC championships and then a national championship. I mean, that's living in a fantasy land for my goals as, growing up. And then on top of it, you look back and we, just our friendships and the people that you played with, and the era that we played in too. Like, it's just, man, I can't even imagine just like everybody just jumping around and not knowing everybody for 4 years, and knowing the young guys coming up and just growing up together and growing up with them. It's just, and just putting these pieces in like every single year. I feel sorry for the players that they don't get to experience that kind of stuff. And I feel sorry for the fans too, because you don't get to watch these guys grow up. Man, I love the Gators. I love the Gators. Look at this guy. Oh, he's going to be great. Oh, he's not ready yet. Oh, look at him. Now he's ready. Oh, I'm so proud of him. Now he's the playmaker. Go, Gators. And it's like you don't get to watch any of that shit, because they're just like, oh, I didn't start, man. I'm transferring now. And then and it's just, and these people, like, how do you, a lot of who I am, look at my art, like the love that I've gotten for my art, and and like any other job, any other career, when you graduate, how do you, like, I don't see people coming out of the woodworks for a guy to stop by for 1 year. And there's something to be said about those that just love their school and want to stay there. And so it's just it's awesome that Lagway stuck it out the whole way through. And hopefully that'll be the sign of more and more to come. Even that was saying
Lagway stuck it out. He's only been here a year, and we're like hoping and praying we could keep him for probably one more season, because then it's like, well, if he blows up and we go 10-2 and maybe play in the SEC or maybe get into the playoffs, well, now we got to worry for Texas or name the school. Hey, DJ, here's $5 million. You want to come on our sideline? And it's odd and ironic. I think that Shane Matthews, a good buddy of James and I's, when he was on, he mentioned the same thing of like, there's just not this continuity where you see guys like you and guys like me. You come in as a freshman, wet behind the ears and not even ready to sniff the field. Then you get a little bit of weight, get a little bit of strength, and people kind of see you making some strides, getting some playing time, getting some snaps, and then here you go, your sophomore year. Like, I'm with you, James, where like we've mentioned it on shows past. Used to, they'd say, oh, hey, here's James Bates, from Sevierville, Tennessee, played at high school football here. Well, now what they say is, hey, James Bates, middle linebacker for University of Florida. He went to Vanderbilt his freshman year. He went to Tennessee his sophomore year. And then he went to the transfer portal again, and now he's in Gainesville. And it's kind of like, what is going on? Like it's quasi or not quasi. It is now. It's professional minor league football, I guess, if in a sense, which
no salary cap.
It is here. It is what it is. And the evolution is not going to be rewound. And I'm okay with guys getting paid, but the transfer portal is what really drives me crazy.
Right. I'm with you. Oh, I know. And through all that, I in the past, I had been calling, ACC games for the last 8 years. I called, I was the analyst for the ACC, fourth, fifth best matchup of the week, and we had a fun package, and I love calling those games. This is the first fall I didn't call those games. So I was so excited to finally get to go enjoy the Swamp. And I was like, and we're opening up with Miami, because I never went to the first game I ever saw in the Swamp I played in. And afterwards, I pretty much went to work and calling high school football games, Sefner Armwood again and again. When Sefner Armwood would cut, man, dude,
Armwood?
What was that quarterback's name who ended up going to USF? Yeah. Oh, or maybe he went to to your rival. Maybe he went to the golden maroon and gold team.
Well, we have Lakeland.
What was your big rival there in the
Lake
area
Gibson,
that you would always play?
Lake Gibson. Yeah.
Lake Gibson. Okay. Yeah, Lake Gibson had some really good players.
Oh, you're talking about Matt Grothy. Sorry.
But yeah, so that was one of my first gigs, calling a couple of those state championships. Yeah, exactly. He was fun to watch. I had a couple of his championship games, and he was fun to watch. You mentioned Sevier County High School,
I'm pretty
Mike.
sure Steve Spurrier, if I'm not mistaken,
who went to Sevier County High School? Do you know? No. Oh man. Here. Hey JV, hit rewind real quick. Hit the button. JV, hit it. Slow me.
Okay.
I'm gonna pretend.
Got it.
This time say Dolly Parton, okay? This time say Dolly, okay? Hold on. Let me rewind it so that's like. Hey Mike, Sevier County High School. You mentioned it earlier. Smoky Bear state champs this year, by the way. Do you know who the most famous alum from Sevier County High School is?
Parton.
You got it. Good job, man. You did your homework. That's awesome. Good job.
It could have been James Wood versus Dollywood, huh? Is that where potentially?
Yeah, but the nickname for my amusement park wouldn't be Titty City.
I'm going to be mayor of Titty City. Hey, who were your roommates there in college when you were at UF?
Oh. Well, Eric Kresser, you know what? Like LSU, I don't know if the windows that are in the stadium, when you go up to Death Valley, you see the exterior and you see all those windows. The Swamp is like that. So our dorm, Jan Hall, was very much like the LSU. I remember like the exterior of Death Valley. So we were there in Jan Hall, right there in the stadium. And Eric Kresser was my roommate and great friend. He actually Jordan Travis. He was his coach in high school down at Benjamin, down in South Florida, Palm Beach Gardens area, which is where he's from, and they've had some really good teams. So it's fun to follow all Kresser's guys. He's turned out a lot of good quarterbacks, and Jordan Travis was a great quarterback and a great kid. I covered his games every now and then. So Kresser, and then I got my own room, and I was so excited. Everybody just wanted to get their own room, and like the 11th hour, Brian Schottenheimer transferred in, and they had him room with me. I was getting ready to go into the fall, so stoked with my own room, and here comes Shotty. And I liked Shotty, but dang, I didn't want to share a room. And then it was just me down in Beverly Hills. I moved down to the Beverly Hills area, but Kresser's the one who got me into art. He majored in art, and he was fun. Kresser had such a strong arm, and he'd never warm up. He'd just get out there and be like, "Hey, man," and his voice would always crack. He's like, "Hey, hey, you want to warm up? And he'd like just start zinging these balls at you. And so Cresser, we were playing at Vandy. Mike, you remember how close the stands at Vandy are to the sideline? I mean, they're right there on you, more so than any other stadium. And we're playing, and it's late in the game, and we're beating up on Vandy. And Cresser gets in late, backups in there, and we're up, say, 35 points. And Cresser's just supposed to run it. And he checks off. He checks off and throws a bomb. I don't know that the guy scored, but it was like a 40-yard pass down the field. And the fans right here behind our bench are yelling at Spurrier because they think he's running it up. They're like, Spurrier, you're a bum, you suck, running it up. And Spurrier turns around to me and goes, it wasn't me, it was him. It was him. Oh. And Cresser was also a part of Bobby Pruitt was our defensive coordinator one year. He was then the head coach at Marshall for a while. He tells this story. I don't know that I 100% believe it, but I hope it's partially true. And the story is, this is the year because when they redid the Gator Bowl, we played in the Gator Bowl. Our class of '92 did. We played in the Gator Bowl. Then we played the home and away because they were doing Altel. And then we played in Altel my senior year. So we played in each venue. But we were up at their place between the hedges, kicking their asses. And it's late in the game. And Pruitt tells the story that somebody reminds Coach, and this is where I have beef with a little bit because you're not going to have to remind Coach. But he says, somebody reminds Coach, no one scored over 50 on him between the hedges. Time out. And regardless, they ran like a double reverse pass to Quezzy, and they scored. And the way Pruitt tells it is Spurrier turns around and goes, now they have.
I would think that's like.
I want them to be true so
I would think that's almost pretty
but
true.
I just can't believe that he wouldn't.
I would bet money on it. I could see Coach doing that for sure.
I hope so. And Mike, that was the same game. That was the same game that a fan threw a whole cup of dip spit at Spurrier. And Doc Lucky, you remember Doc, his security guard, he dove in front of him and he took the dip for Coach. And we did a little mini documentary
James
on it.
has done so many just
it was
cool.
Good. It was good.
Think of like a 30 for 30 theatric and documentary, but it always had these like twists and turns and the stories of head ball coach. I mean, he used to do these really funny skits with was the guy's name Cletus? Well, who was the Tennessee fan? Luther. Sorry, Luther Ogle. That's right. And I mean, this guy,
Luther Ogle.
Tennessee
Luther
hat,
Ogle.
no brim, jean shorts, cut off. I mean, big teeth, dip spit. He had this show called In the House with James Bates. It was a riot. Like James has always come up with these really cool stories, and even the one I think I've seen probably every one except I guess the latest one with Kirby on your portraits. Yeah. No, it's been good. It's been.
Oh, cool.
I'm curious.
Thank you.
How do you get that thing to have like more frequency? I guess would be my question on that. Like get like more.
Well, there's a chance. Yeah, I to be honest, the people that do it, I put in front of them. I put Ben Shelton. Ben Shelton, who was I have footage of him from doing the elementary school news. He and my daughter were like best buddies in elementary school. And I would go in there and help them with their news in the mornings. And I would just rile them up and like get them in the librarian who oversaw it all. She would always get so mad at me because I would like dare him to do the whole thing in a British accent or something. But he was always game. And I have all these old tapes of him doing the news. So I'm like, guys, a show on Ben Shelton would be incredible. But they're like, we just want to do football. And So it's so I've tried like Caleb Dressel would be fun to hang out with, and and just other people bouncing around, but but they just kind of want to stick with football. But we might do some Atlanta Braves kind of like that here coming up over the next year or so. But it's fun. It's been a lot of fun to do those, and it's always cool when I can go on a shoot and then come back and share it with my class, and we or come back from a game and, hey, here's what happened. It's fun. It's a class that when they asked me if I would teach it, I got so excited because I was like, ooh, if I learned a lot of the stuff that I'm about to teach these guys when I was in college, I would have been so stoked, and it would have I would have just eaten that class up. And I want to make this class. I want everybody to be productive and to get better, and we're all on the same team. Let's help each other get better. And just we get good reps. And
I was going to ask,
man, Mike, you ought to come and see us if you're in town.
How did
on Monday.
the relationship from the school and you in that capacity come about? And then on the second question is, what all are the different aspects that you're teaching in the class for the students?
Ted Spiker was the dean of the College of Journalism, and he just reached out to me. Okay. He said, "Hey, I want you to teach a play-by-play class if you're interested." And it's kind of become almost like for the majority are TV students. They want to get into TV. They like to be on camera, a lot of them. But I would say about 30% are just kids from different majors, and I've had some law school students that have taken it because they want to get better at speaking, in public, and it's things like our assignment for Monday is I told them, I'm like, hey, when you guys come to class next Monday, you're going to pop up and you're going to tell us a story, good, bad, happy, sad, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, just tell us a story and make us care, something you care about, and make us care. Because if you don't care, we don't care. And if I'm watching a show, they're sitting in the studio or whatever, and you can tell if somebody's heart is into it. You can tell if somebody's passionate about something if they care. And if they don't care, why should I even watch this? I can get all this information in 2 seconds on my phone. So kind of make me feel some way and entertain me is what people expect. You got to kind of straddle that fence, and you can't disrespect the game, but at the same time, it is just a game, and people like to smile and people like to laugh, and so you have to kind of take chances, and so just reps like that. So we'll tell stories. Sometimes we'll even sit in there and we'll just talk about music, and I'll be like, all right, Robin, take us to break. Okay. And so Robin now knows that she has 10 seconds to get us to break. But Robin's got to put a bow on what we were just talking about and tease what we're going to talk about when we come back. Like, when else would you ever get that rep? The first time you're doing a game, and so like, hey, we were just talking about country, but when we come back, we're going to talk about a little classic hip hop. Stay right there. Boom, 10. And so those reps, and so it didn't work, so okay, let's try it again. And it's just fun, man, and they take good care of one another, and we laugh and we have a great time.
Because out of that School of Journalism and Broadcasting, there's some pretty heavy hitters. Gators in the industry now. You can go down a laundry list of former Gators and people that we even like. Erin Andrews, she was at school when I was there. Laura Rutledge, Jesse Palmer, there is quite a plethora of Gator pride from that school.
Absolutely. You've even got the young man that's doing those Supercut commercials now too. You see him all over. He got the Supercut. You see, and he had the Supercut, and he's doing the Supercut commercial, and he's on there. And man, you got him all. Heck, the one young man that used to play quarterback for him that did the jockey ads was out there running around in his underwear when he do those jockey ads. He does it. He's on the team. I see him all the time. He's on there. Man, he's gotten big too. He's real thick. You know, but he does a good job. He does a really good job. But yeah, they're everywhere, man. Proud of them. Proud of all those Gators. It's so good to turn them on. Patrick Young, saw him on TV 2 nights ago or last night. Talk about a guy with a great smile and
really
great
good
energy.
Job
It's
is
been through
Kevin
so much.
Carter.
You know, it's just
he's so smooth, and he's just very, he's.
Oh, yeah.
Kevin's one of those. I agree. I call him a unicorn because nobody should be that big, that strong, that fast. I mean, he's kind of. I don't want to say he's as freakish as Javon Curse, but he's more freakish in like a massive kind of way. I mean, I played against Kevin a few times when he was with Tennessee, and I was very happy that he was on the opposite side, and I could block. I want to say I could block Javon, but I didn't worry about Javon being as big and heavy and violent as Kevin was. But he does a great job on the CBS stuff he does.
Yeah. And he does, and he's a great guy. His son actually played for Buddy Tevens and Sam McCorkle up there at Dartmouth. But what a great dude! I totally agree. And he was. If you're ever around him, get his Apollo Creed. Get his rock. All of his Rocky Fours. All of his Rockies. He does such great.
I got a funny Kevin Carter story. So my rookie year,
you got to ask him to do that.
With Jacksonville and Tennessee, we were in the same division, so we played them twice a year. Well, I was taught pretty quickly as a rookie, like, hey, if you don't talk, and I didn't talk shit anyway, but like, if you don't talk shit to these guys, they'll kind of leave you alone a little bit, right? So we're in Jacksonville, first time we played Tennessee, and we're walking down the field. It's in between, changing the quarter, and all of a sudden it says, Big Mike. And I'm just walking, Big Mike, and I'm walking. And finally, I mean, Kevin Carter's, size 4X hand grabs me by the arm. He goes, hey, dude, I'm talking to you. And I was like, oh. And I'm like, I'm sorry. So he's like, no, how's it going? How you doing? You seem like you're playing pretty well, blah, blah. And I'm thinking this guy's going to, rip my head off because I'd never met him before. And then he's literally just being as cordial as Kevin always is, and people that now know him and now I know him, excuse me, he's like, how's it going? How's this and that? And then we just kind of started talking, briefly. And then finally he goes, hey man, I already told Javon, don't get after you today. So don't worry. We're not going to make it too rough for you today. So I was like, thank you. Appreciate that. Because, it's kind of the Gators taking care of each other and just an awesome dude, great career, great player. Again, I always go back to your guys' 4 or 5 year era is to me the Mount Rushmore of Florida Gator football, where if I had a choice and I don't, or if I had to say so, I think there would be a lot more paint up on those walls of retired numbers with guys like you and Riddell and Jeff Mitchell, Donnie Young. I mean, he's like the Mount Rushmores of Gator football came, in my opinion, the most and the best from y'all's era. So it's just always been, a prideful thing for me to say, hey, I didn't play with those guys, but I knew those guys well, and we tried to live up a little bit to the standard, which was kind of unattainable because you guys did stuff that, number one, has never been done before, and I just don't ever see it being ever done again with that era. Because how many games did you lose at home? Your career? No, I know it's not many. So, okay.
Two games. Yep. When FSU came back, and I guess 93.
That was 94.
93.
90.
When no, we were coming back. We in the swamp though, we were coming back. I think they had us pretty much the whole game, but we were coming back, and we made a good comeback, and then we had them on 3rd and long, and that was the wheel route to Warwick Dunn from Charlie Ward. Yeah, so that was one loss, and then another one was Auburn. We were number 1 in the nation, and Auburn came to town and beat us. And gosh, man, that was a bad day. And the night before, the night before, we went to the movie right there by the Oaks Mall Plaza, the Oaks Mall Plaza. And then we went back to the Holiday Inn, and you know how you go back to the Holiday Inn and you get your little snack, and then Coach brings you down there. So we're number one in the nation. We're getting ready to take on Auburn tomorrow, and Coach goes in there and says, "Yeah, got a big one tomorrow." But I was Jamie Spronis. Jamie, how do I work this? Coach Dixon, he had a boombox that he brought. How do I wanted to. Jerry was listening to this song. I thought it was a pretty good song for this weekend. You guys, you needed to listen to it a little bit, and think about it when you're playing. And so he finally gets it to play, and everyone's like waiting to hear what this song is. And it was a song by Little Texas called "Kick a Little." Dun, 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 ah. And what I mean? Like, we got like 60% of our dudes are from Miami, and they wouldn't have even looked up if it was anything but Uncle Luke, and everyone's like, and this music comes on. You've got to kick a little, 'cause it's tough. Let them know that you had enough. Kick a little, and everybody just started laughing, and we got our asses kicked the next day.
I was just fixing to say yes, because
were you on the I Hope You Dance team?
I'm having flashbacks
Mike?
to. I want to say maybe that song came out. It was either in 99 or maybe in 2000, because that was my only year winning the SEC, and we I always called it, for us, we always had the you guys never did, but we always had, I called it the Gator hiccup, where we would lose a game we had no business losing. We would derail kind of some of our hopes and dreams, and guys, it's now making sense that obviously Coach Spurrier and his wife, Miss Jerry, are country music fans, because the same thing. We instead of prior to the game him giving us a bad song like "Kick a Little," he comes in. I don't remember who we lost to exactly, but he comes in. It may have been the Mississippi. It was the Mississippi State game. So we had just gotten
State
waxed up at Stark Vegas. I'm talking, they beat the brakes off of it. That was the year that "Who let the dogs out?" Whatever. So he's like, "Guys, we were watching the Country Music Awards last night, me and Miss Jerry, and the number one song was, it's a great song, and we were sitting there listening to it, and it's called 'I Hope You Dance.'" And to James' credit, we got a very diverse group of young men taking a knee. This is post game, and we're all sitting there kind of And you got guys, Gerard Warren, Alex Brown, like, "I hope you dance." And then Coach, I'm not gonna sing it for you, but I'm gonna give you the lyrics. "I hope you dance. Hope you dance with what brought you to the dance." And he starts going through this whole thing, and we're like sitting there going, "Oh my God, this is our team song. Like, this is our team fight song for the rest of the year. I hope you dance." And it's like,
so I had it pictured in my head, Mike, that he would go around for the rest of the year. He'd go around the locker and be like, "All right, Mike, hope you dance today," in pregame. Like, all right, Danny, I hope you dance. I hope you dance. And then he would get to a couple guys, and he wouldn't remember their name, and he'd give them "All right, my man."
Yeah, I was telling JD and Chance kind of.
"I hope you dance, my man."
Coach is
if you
great,
get in.
but usually pretty quickly how much he does or doesn't know you, because if he calls you either Batesy, Mikey, he puts the IE on everybody, so that means you're embedded in his memory. But if he doesn't know you real well, it's always, "All right, my man. Well, okay."
Yeah.
James, give him.
Hey, I've been meaning to ask you guys, has the podcast always been Jumpin' Offsides? Yeah. Well, if you wanted to fix that, it's a pretty big problem. You could just go on First Sound. Yeah. So if you want to change it to on First Sound, that way you guys wouldn't be jumping off sides.
And one of the main ones that gets stolen out of here is the one that's "I hope you dance."
James, I hate to keep putting you on the spot, but just because it makes me like my cheeks hurt. Can you give us maybe just one last story of autographs?
Yeah. Oh gosh, see, we're in the same chat room, Mike, because that's what I was thinking. Jonah Warfel, Danny's son, Jonah. He wasn't there week one because he was late getting into my class, but he's taken my class. He'll be there on Monday, so I'm excited to have Jonah in there. He's a great kid. Oh man, Danny. As we were getting towards, I think this was after the Heisman Trophy ceremony, but before the national championship game. There were a lot of fans that were out there. We used to have to walk, across that O-Dome parking lot to get to practice. And Coach Jones, may he rest in peace. Oh, Coach Jones used to greet us coming down that hill. Oh my gosh, that was so awesome. That just gave me the chills thinking about him. But we'd make that long walk, and then Danny had won the Heisman. We're doing great, winning games. And so all these people, they started kind of coming around, and they'd wait for us to walk to practice, and like, hey, Danny, we signed my jersey or my helmet, and they'd all want all these autographs and everything. So before practice one day, I'm pretty sure it was the bowl practices, Coach calls us all up around him. He's like, guys, get up here. All these people, they're starting to come around trying to get your autograph when you're heading down to practice. And you don't have to sign that, Danny, you don't have to sign those autographs when they say they want your autographs. Just say, go Gators, and just come on down to the field and say, go Gators, and don't worry about it. Because, Danny, you know what they do when they get your autograph? No, sir. They take it to the mall and they sell it. God, yeah, that's not a good thing. And you know what they do with the money when they sell it? They buy drugs. Everyone's like, what the? He goes, oh, heck, maybe they don't, but they could. They could. Oh my gosh. And I had a person commission a painting from me just a couple weeks ago, and that's one. I've done a couple like just straight up head ball coach quotes. Like one of my favorite paintings of all time is him floating on a tube in the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, and then Stoops is up there floating, because he would always make the coaches go to Crescent Beach on the off week, and the off week was always before Tennessee. And Stoops tells the story that they're sitting out there floating in the ocean, and Spurrier looks over at him and says, hey, Stoopsy, think those Tennessee coaches are out floating in the ocean right now? But so I did that painting, but nobody had ever asked about the drugs. And a lady sent me an email, and her and her husband, they want the story about the drugs, and they sell them. And I'm so proud of this idea. I have this autographed copy of Danny, Sports Illustrated. And then I've got this wood cutout of Spurrier that I was going to just do something else with it, him holding up a number 1. But I decided that I'm going to frame the Danny Warfel autographed Sports Illustrated cover. I'm going to take off Coach's finger where he's saying number 1, and he's just going to be holding this Sports Illustrated. And so he's going to be holding up the autographed Danny book, and he's going to say, Danny, you know what they do when they get your autograph? They sell it and they buy drugs. It's going to be the best. It's going to be the best painting ever. It'll be so good.
When people make requests, like if Chance, JD, and I, not putting in a spot, we said, hey, we want you to do something with Spurrier, like from start to finish. Usually, how long does it take you to finish the art piece?
It always depends, and I like to do about 2 or 3 pieces, I guess now at a time. So it's tough to always kind of gauge how long did this take. I'll jump around, but I will say this: something kind of similar. A guy up in New York City commissioned a big Run DMC piece from me, and for some reason I've just been like focusing on just one piece quite a bit, which I never really do, but I've really been excited about this piece and everything. And so I've taken it kind of step by step, and I was thinking about it, and it's probably, 2-ish weeks, not, almost 2 weeks, maybe not every single day. and still jumping around a little bit. But for this piece, this big piece, it'll probably be, I would feel comfortable saying, okay, that took about 2 weeks of my time to do that. But that's going to be fun. And I'm doing one right now for a girl that's getting ready to graduate from Auburn. Her parents are Gators of Toomer's Corner, which is so cool. It's so much fun to do some of these other schools, and what a great tradition there at Auburn. So about 2 weeks maybe, and it's just
Well, JD,
depends on how many commissions I have at the time.
What was James's LSU Baton Rouge experience? Because I mean, you played them. How many times did you play them when you were there, James? 4 or 2? Okay.
We would have played LSU 4 times.
We knew that one. That's kind of an obvious
and
one.
we didn't lose to them, and we
I catch him.
Well, and it's kind of a bummer because we never got the full effect of Death Valley. Never, because they always knew that, we were the better team. And so we never really got that experience, which I would have loved. It's so much fun, as you well know, to go into some of those enemy territory, you and your boys back to back, and just kind of take on the world gladiator style type stuff.
Because to James's point, we were always usually that 3:30 slot.
Yeah.
Because that was when we all played. That was kind of like the prime time SEC game. So I never got to play in Death Valley at night, and I would have loved to, because to shut that crowd up was always just a true blessing and a joy. As JD, maybe you were there for a few of those Gator beatdowns.
Not probably then. I didn't go to those too much. They were terrible. Those are some dark years. Curly Hallman and and those guys.
Donardo and some of those jokers.
Hang on, Bates's recording stopped. He's going to restart it. Yeah, it says your recording stopped.
Oh, can you see me? Okay. Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't put it on airplane mode, and my son just called. What a loser! What a loser! Gosh, we spend an hour on it, and then I go and screw up the whole podcast. Just throw it out. Just throw it out.
Bates, give me a story.
That was stupid. That was so stupid.
Jumpin Offsides is a podcast name. I know that you played defense. You have to have a story of somebody that jumped offsides and Spurrier had something to say to him.
Shoot. I don't know. I know one of his head ball coach stories that I really like a lot was Zach Sedalis. Would talk about him and the offensive line, and he insisted that all he knew about and all he cared about was wide receivers, running backs a little bit, maybe wide receivers, and what the secondary is doing. And sometimes would go up to the board and just draw in the linemen, and sometimes he'd put too many, but he'd just start drawing just circles up there. All right, just go stand over, just block the guy in front of you. But I don't think I have a good offside story. No, I do a lot of times though. I will get my students when they'll get up to say there's a speech or something like that. I'll be like, all right, on two, and they're all nervous as it is anyway. I'm like, set, hut, and then they go, oh, and they start talking. I'm like, offside, that's bullshit. And okay, on two, and then they have a tough time getting it on two.
James, speaking to coach,
he's
definitely right, because occasionally he would want us all to be in the whole team meeting as an offense, and most time, and James would know, linebackers and DBs would kind of go off on the side, and D line, and same. So every once in a while, he'd keep the whole offense in the team meeting room. For what reason? Who knows? Maybe wanted to rip somebody, maybe wanted to point something out. But nonetheless, so my redshirt freshman year, I'm playing, I'm doing okay, nothing to write home about, not getting anybody, nobody's heads getting caved in on the backside of, me blocking. And I don't know why, and James can probably remember too, like coach would just randomly ask you questions and you didn't really need to give them an answer, and you learned very quickly not to give them an answer or give them too much, because whatever you said, he was going to pounce on. So I don't remember who we're playing, and he's like, Michael, how many coverages do you think Doug and Jesse got to know this week? I'm like, 6. They got to know 27. 27. Guess what you got to do? You just got to block your guy. Just basketball him. Your job ain't that tough. Just basketball him. And to James' point, like, if coach could have like designed or created a league that was just 7-on-7, I think he would have like thrived at it and loved doing it, because we were kind of like the necessary evil of football. I'm pretty sure.
Well, and the thing that blows other coaches away, that like my dad coached for a long time, and I'd tell him this, and anybody else that would come around, the fact that he didn't script practices, people cannot comprehend. And so, so much of that work that goes on all day long, all week long, leading up to those practices. What are we going to see in the game? These guys have all broken down all the tape, and we got to see this. We need to see this situation on third down. We got to see this. And he would never, that was his golfing time or whatever. And so he would get out there and he'd be like to the scout team defense, show me cover 2 over there. And he's just throwing it around.
We all say that over and over.
Oh man, he's one of a kind.
There will never be another type like him ever.
So not to pour salt in an open wound, it's probably still open from 20, 30 years ago. Playing defense against 95 Nebraska, one of the probably top 5 best teams of all time. What was that like?
Yeah. Well, it was, I thought it was going to be a reverse. I really felt confident that we were going to go in there and we were going to get after him. And the reason being is because, nobody could really seem to mimic his offense and the talent that we had out there, and Danny at quarterback, with their scout teams and their practices leading up. And so I felt like we had such an advantage because they didn't have those kind of guys that they could just throw out there and, in this passing system. And so I didn't feel like they could get the looks that we could get, because all of our guys, we had all these DBs that were option quarterbacks in high school, and so we could get a really good look at the option, and we were going to be ready for it. And man, Aaron Graham was the center, and I never saw anything like him in the SEC. In the SEC, if I would get off the spot and not take a false step, most of the time I was going to get by this guy, and if not, I would just hit him right between the eyes, because that was my weapon. That was my equalizer. I had a hard head, and I'm paying for it now. If you can't tell, huh? I'm sorry. I thought I heard someone calling me. I thought that we were going to play so well, and this Aaron Graham, he would snap the ball and he'd be up there just turned on me already, man. And I fought with him all night, and they had the Peters brothers, and they were packed in. Lawrence Phillips, of course, there as the running back, but it was a beatdown. And I remember too, after that game, just feeling just like, oh my gosh, like how do these teams play, because everything was loosey-goosey in practice for us, like what we're saying. And the defensive coordinators, my dad was his first defensive coordinator, Coach Spurrier. And so there would be times when they'd be out there and practice would be half over, but they would complete a big pass over there that he was really proud of. And he'd be like, all right, let's take it in. And the defensive coordinator's like, no, hold on. No, we can't. Like, no, we're ready. We're good. And like, then they just go on in. And so, like, and it was tough, but we never really, we didn't take guys to the ground a lot, which they do it more that way now just to try to save the bodies. But we were kind of a little bit more finesse and stuff, and we didn't really have real physical practices. But I just thought, oh my gosh, just those lumps on my hands and on my
they were
forearms.
just,
Like, man, if we had to play or practice with those guys every week, that'd be rough.
JD, to
that was
kind of
my
add on to that
team.
question, for years and years, Coach would, like, when you'd be in the training table and he'd see guys eating certain stuff. I bet you them Nebraska boys ain't eating that stuff. They're tough some bitches. I bet they ain't eating that. I bet you they ain't eating that Browns. I mean, he, like, that game, I guarantee you, was still probably one of the hardest defeats that Spurrier's ever. And he just kind of, I think to James's point, like, I didn't play in it. Obviously, watched it as I've always been a Gator fan my whole life. And when Tommy Frazier had that run up the sideline, that was kind of my exodus to the bedroom. I was done. I was pissed. But Coach, I mean, he may still to this day, if he sees you eating a bunch of fried Browns, bet you the Nebraska boys ain't eating that. Bet you they're not. You tough some bitches.
I'm sorry, Mike, you were breaking up. The signal went in and out there a little bit when you were talking about the Nebraska game, but all I got was you pissed your bed after we lost. Is that?
Yes.
You piss your,
yeah.
Or what did you? Oh, you were pissed.
I was
and went to bed.
James.
I'm sorry.
So
I'm
that
sorry.
was 1995 season. So I was, 14 and a half year old. Just kind of started playing varsity football, and man, I was so freaking mad. Like, but obviously it catapulted you guys to the following year, and you, unlike our teams, you're great teammates and the will to win and things like that. Because that was the one thing I think, if you have a regret of your college career, I can never say I was a part of that kind of elite group that brought a national championship home, and you guys did that and then some. So it's been.
Yeah, but you guys are all a part of it, and it's just, you have to have so many things go your way, and injuries, and and everything, and you never know, and that's why that next year, we had worked so hard, and here we are, number 1 versus number 2 in Tallahassee, and we lost. We didn't play a very good game, and so that was it. We knew what it was like the year before to make it so far and to lose, and so we were going to make it, and then we lost. So, well, there goes that. Now we can't be national champs because nobody's going to beat Nebraska, because it was pretty much that same team. And then we're getting ready to play Alabama in the SEC championship game the next week.
Texas.
And it's a night game. And the early game is Nebraska and Texas in the Big 12 championship game. And when Texas went for it on 4th down, and they got a first down, and they sealed the deal, and they were going to win. We were still at the hotel in Atlanta, and it was like an explosion in the hotel. When they got it, everybody just ran out into the hall, and you've got like big Mo Collins in his underwear and big 300-pounders hugging, and like I would have loved to have seen the look on just regular, hotel patrons there, like, oh gosh, what's going on? Because we were so excited because we knew. Now we had a chance at a rematch if we beat Alabama that night. Yeah. And then the night before the Sugar Bowl, we needed a little bit of help. We needed Arizona State to lose to Ohio State. And I was watching that game with Pillar. And when that was a close one too, a comeback. And Ohio State, when they scored late, and Pillar jumped up on the bed in the hotel room, and he ripped his big and tall corduroy pants, of course the only pair that he had, and it ripped from like belt loop to zipper, the whole crotch. And he's like, because he knew I knew how to sew, and he goes, you gotta fix it, you gotta fix my pants. And so I had to go to the front desk and get a sewing kit, and the night before we won the national championship, I'm sewing the sweaty crotch of his 5X corduroy pants, just sewing them the best I can so he can have something to wear the next day. And then I'm married to a swimmer now, but she was my girlfriend at the time, Tina. She was a swimmer, and I always thought it was cool that the swimmers, a lot of times they'll taper for the big meet and they won't shave for a long time, and then for the big meet they'll shave their whole body because they feel really fast in the water. I'm like, well, this is my big meet. I'm going to shave. Because I used to love hanging out with the swimmer guys. So I shaved my whole body the night before the game. And it was a nightmare. I broke out in a full body rash. I had a concussion at halftime. And it was just, I had these big welts all over my arms. Oh, it was terrible. It was not a good thing. It was not a good thing to shave like that.
See, guys, what you get on Jumpin' Offsides. You don't get the. I mean, the fact that I now know that James can sew the crotch of a big and tall corduroy pair of pants makes him that. He's already the most interesting Gator of all time. That just like, you know, it's even better. That's right.
I'm a people person.
James,
is what I do.
It's been awesome to have you on, man. It's always. I knew we'd all have a blast with you on here, and it's exciting to see kind of all the things you still have going, and I will definitely try to. Maybe when I come up for one of the spring practices, I'll try to get up there on a Monday and sneak into the. Where is your classroom at? Is it in the journalism building right off of what's that road? Not Gale Limerick, but no.
Is that north south?
Okay, so it is in the journalism building.
Anyway, it's right across from the swamp right there.
Okay.
In Weimer Hall, College of Journalism. So it's right there. Come hang out. Come see us. Sometimes we actually have class in the swamp when it's nice because we're Gator.
Chance, you want to take us home or anything you want to close up with?
Yeah, sure. On behalf of having one of the greatest Gators to ever play for us and don the jersey and be one of the best captains we've ever had, and also one of the best storytellers here on Jumpin' Offsides, episode 37. Hey, Mike, you know what we always say. We quote Don Shula. Strive for perfection. And what are we going to do, Mikey?
We're going to catch excellence.
We're going to settle for excellence. We're going to strive for perfection and settle for excellence.
Hey, I think we should just fade to black as you sing this with me, Mike, because you got it in my head earlier.
That's right.
He texted me. I said, I'm painting. And he said, paint me a Birmingham. So Mike, so all of us, all four of us, because I know you know it, and then you can just fade it down. Ready? Could you paint me a Birmingham? Make it look just the way I planned. A little house, the edge of town, porch going all the way around. Put her there in the front yard swing. Cotton grass, make it early spring. For a while she'll be mine again. If you paint me a Birmingham, quick cut of pan.
I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
Oh, Great American Pillow Fight coming at you.
Man, take me out. Somebody just turned the go switch on these suckers and people are moving a lot faster. Something's going on, and I ain't ready.